This is Darren Peterson, a guaranteed one-and-done freshman guard at Kansas. When he's actually on the floor, he looks every bit like the future #1 overall pick in a stacked 2026 NBA draft. His scoring ability is elite, his confidence is undeniable, and the talent jumps off the screen. But here's the problem. The biggest storyline in college basketball right now isn't just how good Peterson is, it's the fact that he hasn't been playing consistently. He's missed multiple games this season, whether due to injuries or other unexplained reasons. And even when he does suit up, he's leaving games early. That raises serious questions. At best, this could simply be lingering injury concerns. At worst, though, people are starting to wonder, is he protecting his draft stock? Is he frustrated? Is there something bigger going on behind the scenes? Some critics have even gone as far as questioning his commitment, suggesting he might be prioritizing his NBA future over his college team. And then there's this moment from Kansas's game against Oklahoma State, a clip that only adds more fuel to the fire. It looks like Darren Peterson takes a shot, then immediately turns toward his head coach, Bill Self, asking to be subbed out. Self calls a timeout right away, and from that moment on, Peterson doesn't return for the final 17.5 minutes of the game. Now, Kansas still ends up winning, but that's not really the point. This has been a pattern all season. First, there were the lower leg injuries that forced him to miss multiple games entirely. Then came the cramping issues, at least that's the publicly stated reason, which have kept him out for entire second halves in several matchups. But recently, the situation has taken another turn. Bill Self, who had previously defended Peterson in the media, is now openly saying he believed the cramping problem had been resolved. He's even admitted disappointment that Peterson hasn't been able to finish these games. When your head coach starts shifting his tone like that, it signals something bigger, because at this point, it doesn't feel like just cramping anymore. It feels like there's more going on behind the scenes. Why does he keep leaving games early? If it's not cramping, then what is it? Why is he sitting out stretches against some of the toughest teams on Kansas's schedule? Is this a hidden injury we don't know about? Is there outside influence involved, or is this something strategic? These are serious questions, especially for a player who still very clearly has the talent to be the #1 overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft. Let's start with the injury timeline. Early in the season, there was a quad issue. It was never fully detailed publicly, but it was significant enough to sideline him during non-conference play. Shortly after that came a hamstring strain, and that one appeared completely legitimate. It kept him out of multiple early season games, including marquee matchups against powerhouse programs like Duke Blue Devils men's basketball in November and UConn Huskies men's basketball in December. That hamstring injury alone cost him roughly 7 straight games, so clearly something real was going on there. Then in January, he sprained his ankle, another setback that forced him to miss additional time. So yes, there have absolutely been legitimate injuries. But the one issue that continues to hang over everything is this ongoing cramping problem, the publicly stated reason for why he keeps exiting games early and not finishing second halves. And that's where the uncertainty really begins. When he's healthy and in rhythm, Darren Peterson reminds me a lot of Anthony Edwards, just slightly less explosive athletically. In fact, you could argue Peterson is a more advanced shot creator and shot maker than Edwards was coming out of college, and had the superior raw athleticism, no question. But stylistically, there are similarities. Coming out, Edwards operated more off the ball than he does now in the NBA, and that kind of scoring profile, a dynamic, self-creating guard with real star upside, is absolutely worthy of the #1 overall pick, even in what looks like a loaded 2026 draft class. But here's where things get complicated. If we reach a point where Peterson consistently doesn't finish games, if we get into March and he's still leaving early, if it starts to look like team success at Kansas isn't truly his priority, that becomes a massive red flag. Because then the conversation shifts. Now it's no longer just about talent. It's about durability. It's about commitment. It's about whether there are lingering injury concerns. Or worse, whether there are questions about how much he genuinely loves the game. And maybe most concerning of all, can you trust the people around him? Is he being advised in a way that prioritizes draft positioning over development and team accountability? It sounds dramatic, but that's where this situation has landed. This is a very strange, very unusual scenario where a potential #1 overall pick simply isn't on the floor as much as you'd expect. And for someone with that level of talent, that's going to invite scrutiny every single time.